Now to our third pressure indicator, nitrogen loading. So this is a measurement of how much nitrogen goes into our estuary, either from point sources or from non-point sources. In a separate presentation, I discussed nitrogen concentration. That, in contrast, is a snapshot of how much nitrogen is available in the water column at a given moment. Because nitrogen concentration in the water column only tells you part of the story, it doesn't tell you what's in the plants or the sediments or the microbes. Nitrogen loading is a better indicator as it relates to ecosystem resilience. So let's not forget that nitrogen is a critical and necessary nutrient. We need nitrogen in our systems. But if we have too much, problems can result. Problems like excess algae, loss of sediment quality, loss of eelgrass. As you see by this graph from the report, nitrogen loading levels over the last few years have been the lowest since we began reporting on this indicator in 2003, when the annual load was about 1,200 tons per year. Over this most recent period, we've been at about 900 tons per year. And if you just look at 2016, that last yellow dot, you'll see that we're just above 700 tons per year. It would be great if we could compare that number to levels from the 80s and 90s. We do have 3 data points taken from 3 different studies looking at data between 1987 and 1996. But all 3 of those studies put their estimates of loading at around where we are now, just over 700 tons of nitrogen. But these studies all use different methods, so they have to be taken with a grain of salt. But what you see in this is this increase of nitrogen loading, peaking around 2006, and since then coming steadily down. The thing to keep in mind here is that most of this change is explained by precipitation, driving non-point source loads of nitrogen. See how the black line of the precipitation has the same profile as the yellow line, which is total nitrogen, and the blue lines, which is nitrogen from non-point source sources. In comparison, loads from wastewater treatment plants have changed less. They peak during the 2005 to 2007 period at over 400 tons per year and have steadily dropped since then, especially the last few years, so that 2006 loading from wastewater treatment plants was 256 tons, and these will come down further as upgrades continue to take effect. This is really great news and fantastic progress. The issue, of course, is that most of the nitrogen comes from non-point source sources. Consider this pie chart showing sources of dissolved inorganic nitrogen, or DIN, the most reactive species of nitrogen. Half of the DIN is coming from non-point sources. Why is this important? Well, what happens if we get another period of high rainfall like we did between 2005 and 2010? Most experts agree that the loading numbers will go up again. This is why it's critical that we continue to work on decreasing loading from non-point sources through conservation, preservation of riparian buffers, improved stormwater management practices.